Continues now with the thoughts of head coach Kerry Green. Presented by The View Apartments and Townhomes. The View, college life off campus. Now, back to the arena.
Folks, welcome back in here to the Vine Center. We'll get Coach Green as well as our Thompson Brooks Insurance Player of the Game coming up here in just a little bit. Liberty with the win over Radford 49-48. With the victory, the Flames now 8-3 in conference play, and the Highlanders fall to 8-3. Also, down at Charleston Southern, as Kyle just alluded to, the Buccaneers came back and beat Campbell 60-43, and with that, there's a three-way tie atop the standings in the Big South Conference. So a lot left to play for, and as we talked about during the pregame, this was huge for Liberty in that if they would have lost this game, they would have been 2 full games behind Radford. In this case, they'd have been a game behind Campbell, but 2 games behind Radford, and they wouldn't have had the tiebreaker because the Highlanders would have swept Liberty in the season series. Big swing there. Radford could have stayed on top of the standings and basically had almost a 2-game lead. Theoretically, they would have had a 2-game lead over Liberty, still a game lead over Campbell. By the Flames getting the victory tonight, it is deadlocked at the top. And Liberty now 1-1 against Radford this year and 1-0 against Campbell, with a game later in the season against Campbell yet to be played. So that's really as big a win as you can have at the beginning of February. It certainly was for Liberty in this one. Lady Flames now have a couple games on the road. They travel down to PC on Saturday. Then they'll play against High Point. Always 2 tough places to play. That's a week from tonight when the Flames go down to High Point. As far as the statistics in this game, the thing that stands out the most was Radford goes from shooting 8 of 10 from the three-point line in the first meeting, an 8-point win in the Dedman Center, to shooting 1 of 13 in this game. And the Flames were 7 of 16 from the three-point line. And one of the Liberty Lady Flames that shot the ball pretty well from outside the arc is joining us now as Eva Ilic is putting on the headset. And Eva, it was a weird game. I mean, I hate to simplify it that much, but your team really played extremely well in the second quarter. Radford got out to a very good start, jumped out to a quick 5-0 lead, and then it seemed like your girls kind of settled in a little bit. Everything was good. You opened up that big 17-point lead at halftime, and then the third and fourth quarter, I hate to say it, but offensively, it was very ugly. Fortunately, you guys did enough on the defensive end to hold on to the win. But what was Radford doing in the third and fourth quarter of the game that was making it tough on you guys to score?
Well, I just think we lacked on defense pretty well the first half, and then the second half we just didn't really play the good defense. It's not that they did something special. We just should have switched better and talked better.
On the offensive end, though, did they do something that affected the flow of your game? Because it seemed like that there were multiple times, especially at the beginning of the third quarter and maybe the beginning of the fourth quarter, where it took a long time to get the offense rolling, and you were down to, say, 5-6 seconds on the shot clock before really there was anything moving towards the basket.
Well, we kind of tried to run the clock, and we just wanted to shoot from the outside when we should have maybe get the ball inside, to the post a little bit more. And their defense was pretty good too.
They're pretty tough on the inside. They block a lot of shots just like your team does.
Yeah.
Both these teams are right at the top of the Big South standings as far as altering shots. From your perspective, does it change your mentality when you're getting into the paint knowing that there's a couple of big girls in there that has a chance of blocking your shot?
Well, yeah, it definitely does. But I think we still should have tried more to get inside. I don't know.
It seemed like a lot of shots just were close, but not quite. I mean, it seems like a lot of shots in that, especially in the second half, were rattling around, almost going in. You had a couple of really pretty drives, and it looked like it was going to go, and it kind of bounced out, and just wasn't a very friendly rims for your team. We'll just leave it at that. It wasn't very friendly rims tonight, but ultimately you did enough to get the win, and that's all that really matters. Now, when you look at the standings, I'm not sure if Coach Green mentioned that or if maybe he knew yet, but with Charleston Southern beating Campbell earlier tonight, now it's a 3-way tie. That's awesome. What a great turnaround from after the loss against Radford a few 2 weeks ago to now you're tied at the top of the standings. But the negative on that is there's just so much pressure on each and every game. You got to keep going because those are some pretty good teams. Radford and Campbell aren't going to lose very many games this year. So does that, it's a nice place to be, but does it put a little extra pressure on you now that you're in first place?
Well, I don't think it does. I mean, of course, there's some pressure, but we just need to keep playing the way we have been, like, for the past, like, I don't know, 2 weeks.
What has gone well in those 2 weeks? If you were pretend like you've got the headset on and you're the analyst here on the radio broadcast, what have the Lady Flames done well to get wins on the road against Campbell, very tough team to play, home wins against both Gardner-Webb and obviously a very good Radford team tonight?
We just started playing like a real team. Like, everyone brought something to the game, and our defense got a lot better. And
rebounding.
Yes,
in this game, this is a good rebounding team, this Radford team.
They beat us tonight in rebounding, but we really lacked on that in the game against Campbell.
Offensive rebounds, though, your team ended up with 14 offensive rebounds, and I don't know if you got credited for that one, but I'm going to have to bring up a negative to bring up the positive. But when you missed the second free throw, and I know you're frustrated that you missed the free throw, but you kind of dove in and knocked the ball loose, and I think Ola probably got credit for the rebound, but you touched it, you were able to keep it alive, and it seemed like that was going on a lot tonight. Of course, you guys had a lot of shots that unfortunately you missed, and you had a chance to get offensive rebounds off of. But that just comes down to hustle, and I guess you were probably the first person on the court that knew that the shot wasn't going to go in.
Yes.
So you were going
Unfortunately.
I got to ask you one last question before we let you go. We were talking about fashion during the game, and that doesn't come up a lot when you're talking about basketball. But the thing that kind of brought it to my mind at first was Radford. Actually, at one point in the game, all 5 girls that were on the court had the exact same red headbands on. You don't see that very often. They look like they were kind of in sync and they had planned that out. But then that brought me to kind of caught my attention. Your shorts. Everybody else wears their shorts down below their knees. It almost looks like dresses. You've got your shorts rolled up, and for the folks that are on Facebook Live, maybe they can kind of see this, and everybody else on radio just have to imagine. But you've got the long shorts, but you roll them up to where it almost looks like you're wearing a big, thick belt around your waist. And then your shorts go from being long shorts to being kind of short shorts, like the old days. If you ever watched like 1980s NBA basketball, not quite, but it's a lot closer to that than everybody else's is. I mean, Larry Bird, Magic Johnson. I'm saying names that you probably only seen on videotape. But tell us a little bit about the reasoning for that.
I just don't like to play when shorts are touching my knees.
Is it just? It's
all about the feeling.
Is it really? And
yes.
It's just kind of like a pet peeve. You just don't like that.
Yeah, I don't like it.
And I guess from a point guard standpoint, you're ball handler. You're trying to dribble between your legs. Last thing you want is for it to catch on your own shorts and you get a turnover that way. But anyway, well, we appreciate you coming out and putting up with that silly conversation about fashion. But next time we have you on, we'll talk a little bit more about hair bows and ribbons and, ponytails.
Okay.
I've contemplated that myself for the sideline to keep the hair out of my eyes. Actually, it's funny. I'll tell one on myself. I was on Amazon about a week ago. Like, there's got to be something that'll keep the hair out of my eyes all the time because, by the end of the day, I sound like a girl when I'm talking about this, but the hairspray eventually gets to a point that it's not working anymore, and the hair's getting in my eyes, and so I go, I'm going to take, so I got a roll of pre-wrap. I thought I'll try that, and if that doesn't work, I'm going to get a nice Nike headband, throw a little plug out to one of the Liberty sponsors, but I'm going to get a Nike headband, and maybe that'll keep the hair out of my eyes. And so if you see me here broadcasting the game with a Nike headband on, you'll know why.
Okay.
Eva, thank you very much. Congratulations on the win.
Thank you.
That was Eva Ilic here as the Lady Flames get the win 49-48 over the Radford Highlanders, and a fun conversation with a very fun basketball team. This is a team that is always having a good time. Of course, when you win, it's easier to have a good time, and they've been winning a lot lately as they're now 8-3 in the conference. But just a good group, and Coach Green was even saying that back before the Flames were 8-3, back when they were 1-10 and really struggling before Big South play started, that this was still a good group, and he really had a lot of fun coaching them. And we'll hopefully get a chance to talk to Coach Green here in just a minute as he's making his way out of the tunnel. We'll talk to him about this game and what the future holds in the next couple of games for the Lady Flames as they now are tied atop the standings in the Big South Conference. Liberty will next be in action on Saturday against PC, and then a week from today they travel to High Point. So a couple of big road games in tough places to play, and Coach Green is getting mic'd up now. And Coach, let's start off with that. We'll get back to this game. Let's talk about what the future holds. Your team has battled and battled and battled. Now you're tied for the league standings at the top, but you're going to have to go on the road and play in a very difficult building at PC and turn right around playing another tough place at High Point.
Yeah, there's no doubt. If you don't respect everybody in the conference, especially on the road wins are hard to find and hard to come up with. And these two teams are very capable of beating us. And both PC executes and plays good defense, and High Point is very explosive and very, very quick, and shoot the three and shoot layups and shoot free throws, and they're very active and on the defense as well. So no rest for the weary, and we're grateful for this win, and well, hopefully we can take some lessons from this win and become even better, because we need to be consistent. We were on the first two quarters and off in the last two quarters and had to hang on. Felt like our bench was critical. We outscored them 9-8, and we got a 1-point win. So everything else is sort of break even. I thought third quarter, we didn't move the ball very well. And if you don't move the ball very well and you don't move very well, then you're going to get a poor shot. And that's the reason you go 1 for 14. You open the door. And we get down in the fourth quarter, and we come back and fought back and did enough to win the game. Defensive rebounds, and so made free throws at the end, and we celebrate, and it's a 1-point game, and just didn't finish shots inside very well. We, I think, was ahead in the first half in the paint scoring, and then end up being outscored by 10 in the second. So just not finishing shots, and we had several players shot the ball poorly, and unfortunately, it's the freshmen. They got to grow up and make shots, and at this time of year, things are urgent and important, and we'll get better. And again, we can have a smile on our faces. We get better, and as I said, we did enough, especially on the defensive end, to be successful.
Well, Coach, I don't want to tax your voice anymore, but I do want to get your thoughts on one player, and that's Audrey Redstadt, the senior. She steps in, hits that huge three-pointer at the end of the game, and even though maybe it wasn't one of her better nights coming into that point, she has ice water in her veins. She'll take that shot, and then tonight came through big for you.
If you look at Audrey and you know the story, and you don't, she came here as a walk-on, and I couldn't get her to take a shot past 10 feet. She wouldn't even take a jumper at the foul line. She had played post her whole high school career, and just would not take a three. And to see how she's grown and evolved, and especially willingness to lead and not fear failing, and so proud of her, and love that three out of that corner, like you said, and she wasn't afraid to take it, and she's a good three-point shooter, and as you said, maybe she didn't have the best game that she's capable of, but she led us and made the big three, and that was a big three, and it gave us an opportunity, fired us up, gave us a lead. If I'm not mistaken, we're down one.
Down one, yep.
2. And from there on, it is a chess game. And, she made a big shot. And great leadership comes from her.
Coach, rest up your voice. We'll talk to you again on Saturday when you go down to PC.
All right, thank you.
Head coach Kerry Green here as the Lady Flames get the victory over Radford by a final score of 49-48. And as we alluded to, Liberty now at 8-3, tied with the Highlanders and Campbell at 8-3 at the top of the Big South Conference standings. A lot of exciting basketball left to be heard if you're listening in on 90.9, or to be watched if you follow along the Flames in person, as every game is so important here down the stretch. And the Lady Flames certainly would appreciate your coming out and watch them in play. They're going to be on the road the next couple of games, as I said, PC and High Point, but they're next at home against Charleston Southern on the 17th. That's a Friday night. It's actually, other than that game, it's a 4 out of 5 road swing for the Lady Flames as they go down the stretch here in February. At PC, at High Point. They come back for that Friday game against Charleston Southern. Then they go to Longwood and to Winthrop. Both those teams have been at the bottom of the standings, but you can't take anything for granted when you go on the road. And then Liberty will finish up the year playing two of the top teams in the conference, Asheville and Campbell. That Campbell game is the last regular season game of the year on March the 4th. Then the Big South Conference Tournament will be played here in this building starting the 9th of March. That's the first round. The Flames are hoping to avoid that, and their standings now, they're probably going to avoid that. I mean, but there's still plenty of time left, and there is kind of a log jam in the standings. So if you go on a losing streak, you could fall down as far as 7th place and have to play in that first round play-in game. So Liberty just hoping to at first you say, well, first thing you want to do is stay in the top 6. You don't have to play in the first round. Now you're talking about wanting to win the regular season title, which would guarantee you a postseason appearance and at least the WNIT. So a lot left to be played for. Right now, Liberty's in a pretty good spot with this 8-3 conference record. A split against Radford. They've already won a game against Campbell, and that was on the road. So they'll get the Camels here at home at the end of the conference season, and that would, who knows, that might be for all the ball of wax right there. And a lot of games between now and then, but that one, I'm sure, circle it on your calendar. Make plans to be out for that one. Good crowd on hand tonight for the Lady Flames as they get the victory on Whiteout Night in the Vine Center over Radford, 49-48. I want to thank everybody who made the broadcast possible. Kyle back in the studio for the Southern Out-of-Town Scoreboard and all of his good work on the board. I want to thank the sports information departments of both universities for getting us on the air, getting us statted up, and making me sound a lot smarter than I really am. And I want to thank you for watching or listening. This has been the Flame Sports Network. We appreciate your patronage. Until next time, this is Jamie Hall saying so long and God bless.
You've been listening to the Coca-Cola Postgame Locker Room Report on the Liberty Flames Sports Network. This broadcast of Liberty